Yeah. Sure. I think I will introduce our panelists, King's Toys, Mr. Roman. Please on stage. Thank you. Game Plus, Jacob Nielsen. And also Mr. Kim, KW. I call you KW easy. Okay, from Western House. And also the other one, John Cheah. I think we met many times, but I have to remember you in this panel next time. Okay, have a seat there. We should put one more chair. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more chair, thank you. Yeah, have a seat. All right. Yes, it's okay. Get it. Yeah, it's not easy in the last day afternoon, because everyone is. I just took the one picture from the Mr. David, Soha Game CEO. He's taken 1.5 days, listen to all of the panel and all of speaker. But I look him sleeping. I take one picture. I want to let you look at. Have a seat, please. Yeah, I just think this. It's not easy for the 2-day event for the people, Doesn't matter, this is final, almost final, okay. I think China session is most important, I think there are 3 tracks and more. I want to ask those panelists, like, first of all, I think maybe everyone can do very short introduction for themselves. And the second, we were discussing about how's Chinese mobile gaming going in the Southeast Asia, and how's international mobile gaming going in China. This is the 2-way. And otherwise, what do you think about the gameplay and in your guys, the eyes and also thinking? So please start from Game Plus first, okay? Yeah. Introduce first.
Thank you, sir. Let's try this. Is this on? Okay.
Use this.
Yes, okay, yeah. Thank you, David, and thank you for inviting me to sit on the panel. I'm filling in for Monty, by the way, couldn't be here. So anyways, my name is Jacob Nielsen. I'm from Denmark originally, and disclaimer, usually if a foreigner says he's an expert on the Chinese market, he's either drunk or lying. I'm neither of them, but I do know one thing or two about the Chinese market. And in Game Plus, which I'm a co-founder and CEO of, we're helping primarily smaller studios from Europe to go into the Chinese market. And yeah, of course, I'll be happy to share some insights, and hopefully we'll have a nice panel discussion here.
All right, thank you, John.
David, thanks for inviting me to the panel as well. My name is Jung. I'm the Vice President of Global Publishing for Yoda One. We're one of the largest independent publishers of mobile games inside of China. Our development partners include Zepto Labs, Cut the Rope, Ski Safari. We also publish globally Crossy Road, which has been a big hit. And we have studios inside of China as well as Korea and Japan. So I've been in China for about 8 years, so I have a little bit of experience with that, and I've also been in the video game industry since 1995 at Activision, EA, Disney, so hopefully I can bring some insights.
All right, awesome, thank you. Yeah, Norman, just use this. I can help you.
Hi, David. Hi, everyone. My name is Norman, and comes from Kingsoft. And I guess the reason I'm here is because as a foreigner to China, I guess I'm the one who survived in this biggest market in the world for the longest time. My company, I entered into this market, China market, from 2001. We have been in this market for 15 years. And we have many successful titles on the PC game. And we have very successful title called SDG Online. It's the ever first MMO SLG in the world, and it's very popular in China. And last year we entered the mobile game market. We have a soccer game, and a very interesting one. If you are interested, we can discuss this after the panel. Thank you.
Great. KW.
Hello, my name is KW from Kingsoft. Kingsoft is actually one of the giants in China that's been earliest days to develop client games and slowly move on to web games. And finally, 2 years ago, we started off with mobile games as well. So that's about it.
Very simple. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. I think I'd like to invite Mr. John and also Norman gave a little overview of the China market was about, because the talk about this topic is about 4.5 or 4.6 billion dollar in the year. It's amazing, because it's raise always. So tell me some, tell the audience something about right now China, half a year has passed, because there are some data or some information. You guys, yeah, please.
Sure. I think the newest data suggests that it's actually closer to a $5 billion industry, which, if you want to put it in perspective, is about a quarter of global revenue for mobile games. So it's a really large market. At this point, there's probably about 400 million handsets inside of China. Turnover is like 150 million units a year. So it's a very fluid, very fast market. And as you all know, Google Play doesn't exist in China. So you have iOS and Apple with their iTunes store. And then you've got probably almost 400 app stores, of which maybe 20 matter on the Android side, none of which work with each other or play with each other. So it's a very fragmented market, big players, but there's no user acquisition. Advertising is only starting to sort of develop right now, so it's a very difficult market to enter, and you don't know which store to go with and how. And it's essentially hand-to-hand business development that makes an app store relationship work, that allows you to get exposure around your game. So, and then on top of it, you have, I think, many of the normal problems that you encounter as a developer when you enter a market. Language, culture, art, gameplay, all these things are very different for the current Chinese gamer out there, particularly on the mobile side. And that's slowly starting to change, but it's not changing fast enough. So. Okay,
I agree with you, because in this year, a lot of big company or small company, there are so many changing, because the small company maybe will be dying, some studios, because they cannot deny for them, there's without any income from the from gaming. So because the user from China is growing very fast, they have many skills, they can judge, many games not well, so this is I think the Chinese user is growing fast. I think in this past 2 years, because almost 3 years, like I started the GMGC 2012. 2013 is really growing really fast, and 2014 everyone getting monetization. But this year, I think some small studio is very tough to get monetization. So I think I need Norman give some overview about your side, because you are the CP side, because you can feel the industry is changing. What you are thinking, maybe give us some insight from your side.
Okay, as you know, China definitely will soon be the biggest mobile game market in the world. Okay, but it's so complicated. It's so complicated. Not only in channels, as well as in culture. I'm a Taiwanese, but I look like Chinese, and I speak Chinese. But 15 years ago, when I entered into this market, into China, I feel I don't think I understand China, at all. Okay, it's so different. And after 15 years, I begin to understand, because you should look at China's history, okay? Because they have a cultural revolution. They were very poor, But after Mr. Deng Xiaoping's economic revolution, then they become very rich very fast, but without too much education. So what's their mentality, They become very, impatient. People are very impatient. They look at the results instead of process. Okay, so in a game, they don't care about the gameplay. They care about a show off. They just need the results, right? They just need the results, And there was a joke that we asked the player, do you know the gameplay? I don't know. Do you know your server name? I don't know. Do you know your player name? I don't know, because everything is all automatic. Right? I just care about my level. I just care about my ranking. That's it. Okay. That's pretty much about the China market. Yeah.
How about Taiwan? Because in China the gaming sector, because we are growing. It's learning from Taiwan. Bring a lot of super game. From Taiwan before the first generation. In China, domestic China. I mean. Now it's domestic China, main China is a lot of learning and very fast copycatting or whatever. They are doing really fast and make it monetization. So what's about Taiwan's continues to keep their style or their gameplay, whatever. Do you have some information about Taiwan?
Of course, I'm Taiwanese.
Yeah.
Taiwan is very different from China market. It's pretty much similar to Japanese market. Because Taiwan was occupied by Japan for 50 years, so the culturally speaking, it's a mixture of Chinese, Japanese, and American culture. Okay, so they like very delicate products, pretty much like Japanese market, yeah.
Great. Okay, so KW, and I think I have some question from you because the West House from Kingsoft is a very, success. The gaming company was a part of the Kingsoft, and one of the very success game we call the Cheah. In Chinese name is Cheah. I don't know how about English name. So that I know this game. I know this game is published in the Southeast Asia. What's about some experience for Chinese gaming? Publish the game outside of China, for example, in Southeast Asia.
Okay. Whenever Chinese games, when you try to go overseas, there often will meet a lot of barriers. Some of these barriers are mostly because of China is actually a close community. They are very much known to their own culture. But when they go out of overseas, they are lack of a lot of things. Initially, they might not be lacking of localizations and understanding the culture. And especially when it comes into Southeast Asia, there's a couple of countries in Southeast Asia actually Muslim countries. Yes, we need to know and study and understand a bit of the different culture. For example, alcohol is forbidden, and you can't use it in the game. Its content will be difficult, and the government might stop you. And on the other hand, it will be on the teaming, because most of China products are surrounded by 3 teams. One of them was 3 Kingdoms, and following by the Journey of the West, and also with Kung Fu teams most of the time. So whenever they try to use what works in China to overseas, they will always feel that quite difficult, because how come what works in China, it doesn't work in overseas? We need to study, we need to understand. And like for example, like Vietnam, we try to push Jianxia to a JX series to Vietnam. What happens that we found that to work in Vietnam, we have to have contacts, we have to have channels with the local side in order to make things work. And we also need to understand who are our audience and what they love and what they like. And it happens that we found that in certain countries in Southeast Asia, Kung Fu team and Kung Fu fantasy, I would say, it works very, very well, and they adapted it very fast. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because the Jianxia is a very popular game also in China, in Southeast Asia, some country. There are I think maybe in the operation side, for the gaming, for this gaming. So there are some experience for your overseas team. How to find local partner. How to because we listened yesterday. There are David, Soha Game CEO mentioned about it. There are 4 companies get the license from the government of Vietnam. So there are, how can the others, if they want to publish the game, how it can work there? Because when I publish this news, people say, so I cannot do it in this marketing if without this 4 company. I say maybe, yeah, this is maybe, yeah. I don't know. Do you can give some experience about your company doing this marketing?
Usually what we do is, okay, most of the time before we enter the market, we try to do some soft launch. But last time we can't get Facebook so easily, so we have to try for some of the things. But before trying, what we do when we go to the overseas team, we have overseas teams in the locals or who have some connections. So when there we get some business kickstarted off, meet some people. From there we understand a bit of the rules and regulations, and we do some testing with the products. And once we get some of these statistics, they can show more proven, then we are able to get things work and start things rolling. Because last time when you do marketings, back in like 10 to 15 years ago when you have client games in the era, Facebook is not common, and Facebook is something new to China that is not being introduced or not being commonly practiced. So this is something like a very hard time to transit over to a new technology or a new idea to go through with it. So when this being started off, what we found very important is local marketing is very important. That we need to understand the local culture and go on ground before Facebook. But now the era has changed. Everything that goes online, buying ads online, showing videos, and not just with ads. We need localized ads. With ads with the local wordings, a feel of it, a touch, and enhancement on the graphics to prove with it.
Okay, so yesterday we saw the PPT from the Sohai. There are 85%, downloaded by the App Store or Facebook, whatever, but the 10% is from people directly. 5% is pre-load. It's like a handset something. So there. Because we know Chinese handset makers are stronger, like Huawei or Oppo or whatever. Because do you care about for Chinese company to go in to go this market? They do care about this handset market is to go in because pre-node is easy. How do you think?
Okay, most of the time this is very difficult things for Chinese when they wanted to try to penetrate the overseas market, because different places have totally different devices that is able to support for different things. For example, Apple have found easier for Chinese, for our company to go into, because Apple is available in China. But when it comes to Android market, it comes a big barrier because Google is not available in China. So we need to look for other ways or other devices that are able to co-op with it. So when we try that, these devices can work with it, but we found another problem. These devices might not be totally compatible with other regions or other places. So we need to go deep down into what are these brands or what are these models and what are the markets are actually using. For example, in certain places, Samsung sounds to be more popular, but not in all the places. Like in Malaysia, certain Samsungs and Xiaomi is working quite well, but that will depend quite a lot because not all users will go for China phone because it comes in stock. Many things are different. They might prefer iPhone or Samsung or even for another phones like the other developers. Because Malaysia also have their own phones.
Great. Okay. Back to Jack, because Game Plus doing the outside of China, foreigner like the European indie game to launch in China. So do you have any comments for maybe some suggestion for the overseas the indie gamer they want to put the game to China market? What's your experience?
Like we already heard that China is a super complex market to be in and very, very hands-on, right? I mean, you need to find a local partner if you have any chance to go into to the Chinese market, and quite frankly, I mean, many of the smaller studios they know that China is huge. But when it comes to the knowledge about China, they really don't have any idea about the Chinese market. Of course, I have no idea. There must be thousands of companies like me and of course like bigger companies as well, like Yoda One here, that are willing to help you to go into the Chinese market. So I think that one of the things you should probably do as an indie developer is to go to China. I mean, go to one of the events, for example, GMGC. Yeah, I mean it's an amazing thing and an eye-opening experience to just go there, meet some people, see what works there and what doesn't work there. And then, of course, if you're serious about it, then go find a trustworthy local partner that can help you screen the game, come back with some feedback and say, is this even plausible in the Chinese market? I mean, would it even work in China? Because there's so many different game types that's not really working in China at the moment.
Okay, Jung, please.
So just to add to that, I think you can get without having to visit China, but there's some baseline rules that you should follow. So Chinese culture has followed Japan and Korea just in terms of art style and taste and gameplay as well. So it's very similar. So if you're not too far from that, then you're in the ballpark for getting a game there. And I still to this day, I'm still surprised when developers come with a premium title in China. Incredibly hard to sell. Apple does okay with it, but on the Android side, it's just nearly impossible to go and market a premium title. And continually, as the world changes and free-to-play is sort of the dominant model, people somehow can't get past that. So free-to-play in China is a current model that really, really works. Also, this goes both ways, but in terms of culture, everything from language to art style, jokes, things like that. You want to minimize some of these things so that when it does get culturalized, so not only is the language getting localized, but the art style, the content itself gets localized. You want to minimize that kind of work. So that helps a publishing partner work with a small studio to make sure that they can turn around some content that's very fast. And then there's a lot of little things such as Chinese gamers tend to want to be handheld through the tutorial process. So you don't want to let them, in the West, and particularly Americans, they want to click out of tutorials. They just want to go and start playing. If you do that too early with majority of the Chinese gamers, particularly the casual gamers, you'll lose them and that'll be it. Your day one retention numbers will be out the door. So there's some baseline things that you can actually do while you're thinking about making a game for China that helps.
Yeah. You're one is a lot of publish a lot of game from outside of China. So do you give some idea for if a Chinese company is which kind of game title I mean the type of game that will be good for for example Weng or Vietnam or Malaysia, which country the app? We saw the PPT, Malaysia, Bangkok also here, right? There are top three. It's a good app for the game player. Paying the rate is very very high. So what do you think about this? Is right or is different from your company side?
So we're sort of an interesting company because we bringing games into China from the Western market. We also have, a part of our business that does global games, so we also launch games outside. And recently we've also been helping Chinese developers go outside into the Western markets, which is also an interesting challenge. I mean, I've been to Vietnam a few times. We have offices in Korea, Japan. I've seen a lot of developers from the smaller Southeast Asian countries, and they're not that far off. What I think when we look at it, and when I travel around with our BD team, like Matt over there, we look at games, and we generally think the art style works. Sometimes the art style may be a little bit more Western. For some reason in Southeast Asia, there tends to be a little bit more Western style art. But that's something that can be changed. It's not too far. You're not getting Arnold Schwarzenegger type artwork. But we do notice monetization isn't perhaps very deep and needs to be that way, particularly if you're going down the ARPG sort of route. There's also some very obvious things. Sometimes a game will rely heavily on Facebook. Obviously, that doesn't exist, right? So basic things like that need to be looked at. But I think that if I were to pick one thing, it would be really around the monetization, having deep monetization, particularly for mid-core games. I see a lot of ARPG, MOBA style type games coming out, and you want to make sure that people have ways of spending and doing a lot of currency sync, and that tends to be sort of shallow. I think Korea and China do that really, really well. And on the social, mid and social genre type of games, then you need to understand how to retain people and get them back every single day, because usually those types of games are sort of short session, and whether they're infinite runners or something like that, you need to. I don't see enough of the subsystems that bring people back day in and day out. Simple things, daily missions, for example, need to be implemented. But a lot of times game designers sort of forget about it and get lost in the game process and don't think about it as running a business, because free-to-play games is a live ops running your business operation, right? So those are some of the things I kind of would advise.
Great. And also, do you, because you the one did a lot, the game publishing in those countries. So every country you need to set up the joint venture company here, or just original, you the one Thailand, you the one Japan, or the VN. So it's like the joint venture from like yesterday. So the PPT is 51% from the local partner. So does it same style, or you have some?
So we don't have a presence in Southeast Asia technically. We have a lot of development partners here. So. But in Korea, we just opened up an office. There's no need for a 51% or any kind of wolfie kind of setup. Same thing in Japan, although you need to have a license. Yeah. So, but each country is very different in the way you describe it. Every country has its own business requirements, has its own cultural taste, gameplay slightly different, art style slightly different. So. We happen to go in and usually establish a production team before the business team, because we do a lot of localization, culturalization. So when we're taking products, we'll culturalize it. For example, in Korea, we took a game from the U.S., which originally went to China, and then from that, we took it to Korea. And I grew up mostly in the U.S., and the art style, to me, was very cute. But to the Korean eyes, it was a little scary. And that's it's kind of sorry about this, but an eye-opener to see that happen. So again, each region and culture has enough variances and differences. And I imagine in Southeast Asia, it's actually very similar to China. There's a lot of fragmentation, a lot of stores, different languages, low credit card install base, different payment systems, mobile carriers and all this. So it's actually a very good template of what China is like, but just across all the multiple regions inside of Southeast Asia.
Yeah, because like you mentioned about the credit card, there's not a user get a credit card, So like the Vietnam, maybe most player pay the gaming is use the card, telephone card, So great.
One-click payment in China is really the thing that started the Android market really moving. Once all the three carriers built that in, put into the SDKs, and we just put it in, that drove volumes, and the sales and the numbers shot up very quickly.
All right, good. Okay, so Loman, do you have some idea for foreigner company? Maybe they do the localization in China use of King Toys. What you are thinking? There is some chance, like we mentioned about it. Maybe some company want to do the gaming in China, do the operation side. There will be some chance for our make it first generation is a web game, or second generation is first generation is a PC game, and the second one is web game, then mobile game. You guys to do all of the experience. So do you think this is some experience, or maybe some chance for those companies like you to handle to have some idea for the localization?
Of course, that's what we are doing. Yeah, we also we are not only the content provider, and we also can do the publishing work. Actually, we do the publishing in China starting from 2001. 2001, we have been in this market for 15 years, and of course, the PC game channel, web game channel, and the mobile game channels they are all different. They're all different. And but I think so in terms of channel in China right now, it's much better than 2 years ago. Much better, much better. Because the environment changed, and 2 years ago maybe there are so many underground, under table things, But right now, because every channel they have a very strict KPI for their managers, and they need to achieve that. So they're under a lot of pressure. So the under table things, they are looking for very strong products. Okay, so the most important thing is that you need to have a good product. But if your product successful in Vietnam or in Singapore, it doesn't really mean that you can be successful in China. The cultural difference is so huge, and we can help you in terms of localization, culturalization, this kind of stuff. Yes, we do.
All right. Okay. So KW, and because the Kingsoft is a Western house, it's very, the game company in China is, I mean, the number of the, the big company here. So there are, because in this revolution, I mean, you guys, passed the web game, right? Now it's mobile game. So in the internal, what's about the team, like now in Tencent have many studio, many like the separate, more than 8 studio now, right? Before 20 more. So now, how about Kingsoft? What's going on for the system?
Currently what happens in Kingsoft is, because previously we have a strong background in client games, PC client games, and then slowly we miss it out in the web game era, and now moving into mobile games. So we will still maintain our client games, which is the JX series, which is one of our most successful titles. And moving on, we are going to move more in tech into mobile games. And not just only in-house development, we will also invest into other indies developers or other companies who we see potential into it. We will not just only taking into the product, but we have a team in many different places. So what our team will do in enhancement or in addition to it is we localize the content, we test on-ground testing, check on the how the users respond, gather feedback surveys, then we make the enhancement, then we re-put it into the market. And what we have found as well is when we come to different places, not only just that localization is one of the things. Different SDK in the locals also makes a big difference. Like payment channels, we need to know who are the payment channels and what works and what doesn't. These are some of the things that we've been studying. Like in China, they do not have much with the concept of using a third-party logins. So when we go to overseas, this is what we need to integrate. And the same goes for those games that from overseas, when they try to go into China, this is what they need to implement.
This is competition, in China. This moment, I can see many companies, have to close the door because it's many competition in China right now, because the big company also have competition. Small company, of course, we die sometimes. So this is chance why they want to go outside of China, Southeast Asia or somewhere, right? I think maybe language is important the first way. Second, I think the culture shock is have to understand the culture shock, and then can to how to keep the risk control. I think that's definitely interesting the topic because about the China market is really growing. But why those Chinese companies fighting together? The copycatting together sometimes. Dota game. That's many Dota. It's one with the one success name and maybe tomorrow many Dota name games. So that's crazy. So I don't know. Maybe you have some idea because I have to talk to you because you're the one. Maybe sometime you heard. Because people when you want to publish a very famous game, then the second day people say super something like. So what's about the solution in the the publishing side?
In terms of copied games or original IP. So I think that there is actually slow change happening. IP rights in China, particularly in the large media sector, so movie, television, things like that, have already in the past year, almost 2 years, been sort of being enforced. Not only because of the large-scale revenue that's being generated by movie theaters from within China and the sort of co-production deals that are happening there, but also because Chinese companies are also generating their own IP, and there's now a big drive to protect it, and it's happening on the mobile side. For example, we have at Yoda One, we have a 10-person ops team that all they do all day long is to go find pirated copies of all of our mobile games. They send a letter to the website, and oftentimes these websites actually don't know that it's a pirated copy. They think it's legitimate. We request them to take it down, and 9 out of 10 times they take it down. And mainly because the Chinese consumers also, their tastes are changing. They want the real thing. They want the quality. Discretionary income is going up. Middle class income is going up. So they don't necessarily want a pirated copy. They have the money to spend. In fact, for both us, our development partners, as well as the studios making those games, and the website that is actually carrying a pirated copy, it makes sense to have the original because they get a revenue stream, right? Their customer is happy because they've got the original game. We're protecting our partnership with our development partners, and the whole ecosystem is benefiting by that. So slowly it's changing, and more and more what you see is like the big app stores, when they're Jiao, 360, all these guys, they need to generate money, and the only way they do that is to have their legitimate copies, and they're enforcing that. So that's starting to change. In terms of game design and content, I think there's always, developers are always paying homage to games that they really like. Mechanics are always copied in some way or another. There's, I don't know how many Infinite Runners we see a month. I don't know how many people say, I have this ARPG that's, it's got, 3 kings in it, meets something XYZ. But what we look for is a successful type of genre with, a 10% innovation, right? And that's all that's required. You also don't want to introduce something that's so radically different that the audience doesn't understand or can play it because they don't understand, it's such a weird or different model. But if you take, for example, what we think are ideal things, taking some mid-core mechanics and popping them into social casual games, right? Generally, people think casual games don't have deep mechanics, but they can. Gacha mechanics were sort of mid-core things that are now all over social casual games. So moving some of the deeper game mechanics that exist in mid-core and hardcore games and reapplying them to more social casual is an interesting move that the market can do. It helps casual game studios develop longer tails on the revenue. People are more engaged. They find the games more interesting. And oh, by the way, mobile games, almost a decade now, those players who started in mobile games are now real core gamers, and they would like to see more interesting things. I'm 48 years old. I started when, on PC games, and I remember the first Atari. I just don't have time to get into real mid-core games. I still enjoy games, but I also, I'm tired of match 3. There's something in the middle there that can be developed. So I think as long as the system allows for it, people can create something interesting. You just don't want to do 100% brand new. You want to innovate a little bit and then deliver something.
Great, good idea. Because if the Supercell guy, the Tail, is mentioned about more skill, for the game. Because if you can do more skill, more character, then it's not easier to make people to copycatting pursuit. This is important for the thinking that when you started making game. I think this is important in this environment, in this today. Over the world, everywhere. I think it's similar, right?
I think also quality matters. I mean, there's hundreds of copies of Supercell games, right? But the game is really well balanced, great artwork, it's deep, the monetization's near perfect. So yeah,
the gamer will answer all of the question. Yeah, great. Okay, so I think Teddy, time is very close, right? I think I have to close with my best friend for here. I think we have a lot of chances to publish those the topics in the future, and we have a several events in the future. So sorry to cannot continue with our other topic. I have more. So thank you guys to have this panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.